So let's get to hour 2, man. Kyler or Caleb? Arizona Cardinals signed Kyler Murray under the Keim and Cliff regime. Before they even made this deal, we were calling for the end of the KKK. We don't believe in the KKK and what they stand for, both the Ku Klux Klan and Kyler, Cliff, and Keim. Okay. It's just not the right team to be on. Well, Arizona got smart, and they got rid of Cliff and Keim. And honestly, Cliff didn't deserve to get fired. He had a bad year, but he got better every year with Kyler. He had one step back. Based on record, he didn't deserve to get fired. I would have fired him. I don't think
who they hired to take his position, even more so.
Yes.
Why he didn't deserve to get fired, to where he could have gotten another year because of it. But then again, why do that? He was just going to be hanging out to get slaughtered anyways. For what it's worth this year, he's going to be slaughtered this year.
They did the nasty thing that happens is they gave him another contract to didn't just fire him. Like, hey, here's some more guaranteed money. We're going to get you up out of here. But anyways, Kyler tore his ACL at the end of last year. He's probably not going to play this year. The Cardinals are not a good roster. They've gotten worse. If the Cardinals get the number 1 or even the number 2 pick, we'll say number 1, Caleb for Kyler. Do you trade? Do you trade Kyler Murray and draft Caleb Williams? And do you think if they get, say, the number 2 pick or the number 3 pick, do you think you could package your pick and Kyler Murray to move up to 1?
I think you could definitely do it if you had the 2 and 3. Now, look, if I have the 1, I'm taking all calls on it because he's certainly the Commanders, who might be changing their name now, apparently. That just came down in the group here with some breaking news. That the new regime, Josh Harris, that they're more than likely, actually said more than likely that was going to happen.
Let me add that to the list because Josh Harris is a loser.
Can you imagine having 4 different team names in a span of like 6 years? How crazy is that? Or maybe it might take them like 2 more years to get it done. Maybe, I don't know. Can you imagine that? It'd be wow. But point being,
being a fan of that terrible franchise, that terrible team in that terrible stadium?
Absolutely not. Worst stadium I've been to. Obviously, they've been the worst Ram team in the league. But enough about them. The only reason I bring them up is because they're going to certainly be the front runners to get their hometown hero to come back home. And they're going to be bad enough, too, to be kind of in that position to where their pick's going to be close enough to where they can easily trade up, assuming that Sam Howell isn't some all-star, which I don't think he is. Justice watched too many North Carolina games and seems to think that he will be. I don't think so. He's in the same boat as Ritter. We don't really know, but at the same time, we would be willing to guess that he's not going to be. So a team like that, right, is going to be at the front of the line to trade up for that number 1 pick if Arizona is, in fact, the worst team in the league, which they should be. And they're planning on being, clearly, with the coach that they hired and who they're trotting out this year. I am looking at what can I get for the 1 and then what can I get for Kyler. If you can swindle somebody into giving you a 1 for Kyler along with
he's worth the 1.
Along with some other stuff that maybe is conditional that can, maybe like a 4 that can turn into a 2 and then like a 6 that could turn into a 4. I don't know, like something like that. And maybe maybe like a player. And I'm talking, this could come from a team like Seattle, right? Let's say it's Seattle. Let's say a team like Seattle.
No, let's say it's us. We're going to watch Dez play next year. We're going to go, you know what? He's not in.
Let's say we go 8-9, 9-8. We're the 8 or maybe we're even the 7. But clearly we were there in spite of Desmond Ritter.
Desmond Ritter throws for the under, and he throws his interception.
15, 14.
His touchdown interception ratio is 1-to-1, or maybe like 20 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 15 tutties, 14 picks.
Yeah.
And okay, we'll throw in he had like 5. Nah, that's too many. He had 463 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. But we went 9-8, and we either won the division or the wild or missed out type thing. But if we won the division, we got blown out at home by 28 points in the first round. If we make the 7, the Eagles beat the dog shit out of us or something. And he's clearly just not the guy. Throughout the regular season, we were winning games in spite of him because Bijan Robinson had Rookie of the Year and even got Offensive Player of the Year type votes.
Question: if we make the playoffs and we have a home game, do I have to buy that ticket?
Yes.
They're assholes.
No, come on, that's a part of it. I mean, that's a part of it. And matter of fact, let me tell you, if we are truly in the division hunt, similar to last year, they will start sending you emails with 3 or 4 weeks to go to where they're like, lock in now. And like, if you don't, they'll just like sell them. Yeah. And obviously they'll refund the money, right? If we don't, but like, you have to like lock in. Like, they won't let you wait until we clinch. Like, you have to buy it beforehand too. Like, you'll be buying those tickets before Christmas is what I'm saying. If that is the case, like, and we don't know, even if we don't know, you'll have to buy those tickets before Christmas.
And we'll buy it.
Yeah, of course. Worst case, you could sell them. Because I'm not trying to be funny. Let's say we are the 4 and we play. I want to get a good 5. Say Dallas comes in town.
Dallas comes in town. I'm selling, dog.
Yeah, they're gonna buy your tickets. Dallas will buy your ticket.
Yeah, that's some good money. But yeah.
But
yeah, now back to Kyler. Like,
San Francisco will buy your tickets. Like, they will buy your tickets.
Well, if we play San Francisco, I gotta go bring the wife and the daughter.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, like,
the Rams will not buy your tickets.
They don't have fans.
Yeah.
They're us.
There might be a guy that shows up with a Lakers jersey on, you know? But nonetheless, I think that in that situation, you have to you definitely consider it, but you have to weigh in what offers am I getting for him versus the one. That's what I do as the GM.
I'm trading Kyler.
I do exactly what the Bears kind of did this year. Maybe and put it this way: do you think that Justin Fields had more trade value this year than Kyler would have next year if he doesn't play at all?
Hell no. I think the league believes that Kyler can throw the football. The league does not believe that Justin Fields can throw the football.
So you think that the Cardinals in that situation would get more value than what
yes
they even got for the one? I don't know what if they got.
I don't know, because this draft was so weird at quarterback, and it was Bryce.
But this upcoming one's looked at as more of a slam dunk with both of the top guys.
Well, yeah, I like Drake May over Caleb Williams personally. I think Caleb Williams' ceiling is higher, but
you want to know who Drake May looks like he could be? And I'm not comparing because they're white, but like maybe Herbert type arm talent.
Arm can run, not like a shifty runner, but
as good a runner as Herbert though.
No.
Herbert was actually a really good runner at Oregon, and a lot of people didn't like talk about it, but he kind of could run the ball.
I've not seen Caleb Williams play on schedule enough to where I'm comfortable with him being coached by anybody.
He appears to me, and let me tell you, especially after seeing him against Georgia, I'm a big CJ Stroud guy. I was really hoping that we try to put our name in the hat, especially when people kept trying to talk like he was going to fall. That's who I was. I liked what I saw. I think that Caleb Williams is a higher ceiling, but potentially better CJ Stroud. And that's just comparing him to somebody recently that's come out of college that I want to compare him to. Because he's not Patrick Mahomes. I hate it when people keep trying to do this Patrick Mahomes thing. He ain't him. That's not Patrick Mahomes. But he reminds me more of him. Like, he can run if he like CJ Stroud. I feel like he didn't really run at all this year, but then against Georgia, he was fucking running. And
stylistically, I see a lot of Patrick Mahomes, but Patrick Mahomes would be a good quarterback anywhere, but he's Patrick Mahomes because he plays for Andy Reid. Andy Reid's not trying to make him be anybody but the best version of Patrick Mahomes. I don't think Patrick Mahomes would be his best self with Kyle Shanahan. Because Kyle Shanahan would be like, hey, dog, no. The ball goes here at this time.
More importantly, Kyle Shanahan's going to run the ball with his 3 different running backs 30 times a game, too.
That's right, too. But no, if I am the Cardinals, I'm moving on just because I got a new regime anyway in there anyways. And let's get our quarterback in line with us. But also, dog, the commentary on Kyler's been bad. I even heard him say, yeah, I mean, I watch film, but I don't like a lot of what I do is off of my feeling, my intuition. And let me tell you what, when my wife starts talking to me about her intuition.
What's wrong with a woman's intuition?
Everything. Like when people, like, don't get me wrong, we all have intuitions. I believe intuition exists. But intuition gives you an excuse to make a decision that you want to make that you don't have to justify, like, where you came to, like, that decision point. And I'm not one who is big on making decisions without being able to explain the means to the end. You know, like, I need justification. I don't even need justification to refute it if I disagree with you. I just need to understand where your brain is. And when you say, oh, bro, my intuition, that tells me nothing. That tells me you just made a decision because it felt right. Well, what made it feel right? Oh, my intuition. Kyler, why did you throw that pass? Or why didn't you throw the pass? Why did you run? My intuition just... Nigga, no. Tell me that you're short and you couldn't see over and you felt pressure on the backside, so you took off because that's what you saw. I don't care about what you felt. Because when somebody tells me, well, I feel like, well, your feeling is wrong. Here's what happened.
Right.
I mean, I'm analytical. I'm logical. Like, oh, yeah, let me just air out some more of my personal life. I love to do that. Me and my wife were talking, and she was like, you know, so much of our relationship, it just didn't feel romantic. You just did decisions that you thought made the most sense for us. And I go, yes, that's how I think. She goes, you didn't ask me to be your girlfriend. She goes, you be talking to your friends about me. You didn't know how to reference me. So you just said, hey, you know, I've been calling you my girlfriend to my friends. I go, yeah, because we were together. We were exclusively with each other. Hung out every day. You were my girlfriend. And I stopped. I got tired of saying, yeah, this girl I've been hanging out with. Like, no, that's disrespectful to you. You're my girlfriend. And I'm in my late 20s when we got together. I'm not going to say, hey, would you like to be my girlfriend? No, nigga, we went on a date. We got to know each other. You said, hey, if you're going to hang out with me, you're going to exclusively be with me. Well, at that point, you're my girl. If I agree.
Right. Exactly. But and the same could be said. I've never said that. And it was just understood. Well, we're hanging out all the time, every day. We're planning things. We're doing things. You've met my family. There's like all these things. So where does that even have to come into question? But yes. We're not talking about that. We're talking about Kyler Murray and his value.
Kyler Murray, if you come to Atlanta, I'll be a Kyler Murray fan.
I will be too, but
Kyler and Trey Young, the two smallest stars that everybody wants to replace, but they can't find anything better.
I will be skeptical as hell about a move here because I think scheme-wise, I think it works. But then now that he is kind of damaged goods, he's already small, and then he's already been paid. So it's just one of those things where, well, why didn't we make the move on Lamar last year and then just start looking around at each other? Because if we make that deal, it will be pretty much the same thing. I mean, I guess maybe we wouldn't have gotten Bijan because the assumption would have been that pick would have had to have gone to Baltimore. But like, if we're still giving up a 1, maybe even 2 1s, or a 1, a 3, and a 4 and a player that's good, like,
yes,
I will question it. I'll question the shit out of it.
I'll question it, but I will say that with the roster that I think we're gonna have,
the core players are locked in for us next season.
We are 3 games better than I think we'll be with Desmond Ridder.
Okay, that's fair.
I know this is not a Falcons conversation, and we'll do it in our season preview, but I think y'all know that I think Desmond Ridder is not the guy. I'm rooting for him.
And I believe that everybody knows I share the same exact sentiments. It's one of those situations where, based on what I saw, I don't think that he's that guy. Even when we drafted him, I did not think that he was that guy. They're going to give him a shot. I'm not mad at them for giving him a shot, but I am upset at them for not turning over every rock to see, can we truly upgrade at this position? Because we knew with Mariota kind of what we had. There was no expectation of him being the guy either. And I feel like we wasted a season that we could have won more games in if we had either – or we could have either won more games if we had addressed the situation better. I get we didn't really have much of – our hands were tied behind our back because you pissed off Matt. Matt wanted to leave, which it ended up working out best for us that Matt did leave. Assuming he played just how he did in Indy, he would have been better here. But that's not here nor there. But assuming that he plays the same, we won that trade, and we got from up under the money, which was easily the most important part about that. We didn't get Deshaun Watson, which might have really worked out for us too in the long run. I think that that's worked out pretty well. I mean, unless Deshaun Watson goes 12-5 this year and, I don't know, he balls out and he's a Pro Bowler, then I might maybe question it. But otherwise, that looks like we escaped that. But why was this the route that we wanted to go? That 3 quarterbacks that 4 quarterbacks in 4 years thing doesn't sit right with me. I don't like the idea of that. So it's like, because then it looks like you're having that revolving door type thing.
And it's not like, contextualize it. We had Matt, we went to a bridge, and then
we went to another guy that we don't know, but we could easily hop off of.
I'm looking forward to hearing what comes out of camp. If camp quarterback talk is quiet, I'm going to know that Taylor Heineke is kicking ass and they don't want it out. I think Heineke is our key to the playoffs next year.
I think so too, but then you're hoping that we get off to probably a 1-3 start at least.
I'm hoping Heineke kicks ass in camp and preseason.
They're not going to bench him though.
And no, let me finish. And Desmond Ridder is unable to play for 1 game.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not wishing injury on anybody.
Terrible. He's not able to play. Well, what's going to happen? Something bad has to happen to him to not play. Either an injury or something personal. And I know I know that an injury is personal, but I know you don't wish something personal happens where he steps away from the team. No. He's going to have to get injured in order for Taylor Heineke to start within the first 4 games of the year. He's going to get 4 games. They're going to get rid of at least the first 4. If he goes 1-3, I feel like that 5th game could be the make or break where they do pull the plug, depending on how bad it is through the 1-3, or if it's 0-4. If it's 0-4, I think he's benched. But 1-3 is where, all right now. But if they're competitive, think about it. Our 0-2 games to start last year, we covered in both. Both were 1-possession games that we could have won. And then you win your next 2 games. I think that if his first 4 games Mariota games, then he's going to
We showed up to the Bucks game by the time Brady got benched, and we were across the street. We watched the first quarter on TV.
Yeah.
That's how excited we were to get to the last game.
Nothing to see there.
Bro, I didn't even watch the game. I didn't even watch that game.
You know what's funny? We didn't even me and Justice, we didn't even go to the Arizona game.
Yeah, it was New Year's Day.
I don't think you did either. It was you were out of town.
No, I was here. It was New Year's Day and Kyler wasn't playing. I gave my tickets away. I gave my tickets away. I didn't sell them. I hit up friends and said, "Hey, I got 2 tickets to the game tomorrow. Do you want to go?" First come, first serve. They're yours. And I always to my because I missed a few games last year, and I would tell my friends, "Hey, dog, y'all got first right of refusal, but here's the basement price. You can buy them." That game, I gave them away.
Gift. Happy New Year.
Yeah, dog. Fucking Colt McCoy started.
Right.
I can't sell these.
Yeah, I get. Actually, Colt McCoy did not start.
No, the other dude started.
Huh?
Who started? It was somebody else.
I don't remember. It wasn't Scott Tolzien. I don't know why his name just comes to mind.
And Danucci.
It was somebody of that lineage. I mean, it might have been Nathan Peterman for fucking sake. But either way, you're getting a third stringer versus Desmond Ridder match.
Third stringer.
And I think the final score was 20-19. It was just something brutal.
I don't even know if I watched that game on TV. I think I
watched it. I was hungover, but you know what? We went to the real game the night before too. We got to see Georgia and fucking Ohio State. So it's hard to leave an instant classic like college football game and then
shit.
Well, and see 2 guys that
suck
potentially. No. Well, I meant in the college game, 2 guys that might start. One of them's definitely the day 1 starter, but the other one might be a starter too.
Hey, Matt Stafford, you're on the hot seat, buddy. Stats is gonna kill it in preseason, dog.
They said in camp. I know it's mini camp, but hey, I'll leave that at that. There were a lot of good things said about him out there.
Stetson was focused on football. He was at Georgia for 6 years and didn't get a degree. Okay, he was focused on football.
From day 1, right?
I've done a bad job of being Molly Querum. We went down a Falcons rabbit hole that went longer than it's supposed to, and it's longer than I'm supposed to allow. I want to talk about the Rooney Rule, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I sent that clip to the group. I know no one listened to it. It's fine. But it was Rob Parker and Chris Broussard talking about the Rooney Rule.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to serious us out a little bit, talking about the Rooney Rule and tie it to the recent overturning of affirmative action for college admissions. And Demaurice Smith is on his way out, and this fuck nigga wants to get rid of the Rooney Rule. And I call him that because I think if that's something you truly believe, and they publish damn near 1,000-page report or some stuff like that, too long for me to read. If that's how you felt, that's what you should have been doing while you were in the seat, not as your last thing on the way out. Dog, you're a lame duck. No, if you really believe this, you should do it while you're there. But again, it goes back to the money. It's not about the rings. It's not about the bigger cause for us. It's about what's best for me. State of nature, state of war. Read the Leviathan. It'll change your life. But long story short, he wants to get rid of the Rooney Rule. And I want to get rid of the Rooney Rule. And unpopular opinion, I think that affirmative action has its perks. But I think that I listened to a podcast on Clarence Thomas's thoughts on affirmative action. It got into what he wrote about it, but then it went into his career, and he had a career that was bolstered by affirmative action, but socially he was damned because his career was bolstered by affirmative action. And he's like, no, I'm here because I'm good enough. But y'all are looking at me like I'm only here because we had to make a race-based quota.
Right.
And we've seen that the NFL doesn't care about the Rooney Rule. Sean Payton was going to Denver before they started the hiring process, you know. And the Rooney Rule and affirmative action, it is the way that white people who don't want to be made uncomfortable about race address race, right? It is, hey, let's open it up, give these black guys an opportunity, and you know, maybe they'll come in and win the interview. But the problem is the person who's interviewing has implicit biases, has relationships, has a way of thinking in which they're going to use to execute their decision, where if you are a laid back black guy who can speak the language of your quote unquote subordinates, you may be looked at as a bad leader because they think because you can relate to them on that level that you can't lead them. They won't respect you. They won't follow you. When in most cases, when you can speak somebody's language, you can talk to them in a way that they feel comfortable, they'll go the extra mile for you because you make them feel comfortable. And I say this as a guy who my entire professional career, I've been responsible for people professionally and personally. And I'm a Southern black guy from Cartersville, Georgia. I'm very much a nigga, but I'm conservative. I grew up hunting and fishing, but I also listen to Gucci Mane I Hoop. So my ability to relate to a lot of different people is very broad because I've had to relate to a lot of different people in my child life, my whole life, right? Like I've had to like do different stuff now. Yeah, and now I have a Salvadorian wife, and now I'm getting tied into more Latin culture, and it's again changing my palette for what's comfortable, what's new, what is my regular day shit, right? So I can speak, I can dog, I can talk to people who I work with who are Latin culture, and I can like speak to cultural shit, right? Because I experience it now in my house. And it gives a different level of buy-in. Oh my God, he is invested in the stuff that I'm interested in. I like this guy, right? So you can create the quotas, and that's cool. But if you don't change the mind of the decision maker, the quota for the interview doesn't change shit because they're looking for what they're looking for. And if you can't, if what you have that's different is not accepted because of a lack of understanding and culture in a different culture, if you're not cultured in that shit, it doesn't matter.
It's such a layered conversation, and I can see both ends of the spectrum. I mean, if we look at it from an actual affirmative action standpoint, I am one that is belief that it's only helped and that it's something that should not have been like taken away, in a sense of I've always felt like when it came to the borderline people, the top, if you're at the top of your shit, you're getting in to Yale and Harvard.
I got into UGA, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, because I had the GPA, I had the SAT scores, I had the community service, I had the leadership, I had the extracurriculars, right? It didn't matter what my race, gender was, I was getting the UGA based on my application.
Exactly. Exactly. Richard Grenier is the first black person to go to Harvard, and he received his AB from the college in 1870. I think that the top niggas are going to get into these type of places. So I don't think affirmative action is helping that regardless. To me, it's always been the borderline guys. That's, to me, is where it's been more so crucial than not, because there's a good chance that the people that are getting accepted at that level that and when I say borderline, I mean their test scores are the exact same. They've got the same extracurricular activities, but now it's just how do you make that decision on those final cuts of the people that you're going to admit to the college? That, to me, is where it kind of matters, because there is less representation. And I'm not saying that you should take them on because of that alone, but the reality of it is like, damn, there's probably so many different battles in that area to where they lose as opposed to win on like a daily basis.
You know what, dog? I can make an argument that Morehouse and Spelman, the AUC, is the most diverse
group of black people.
Is the most diverse college campus in the state of Georgia.
Yes, but I agree.
Because, and people say, HBCUs. I go, yeah.
There's levels to this nigga shit.
But they're not, but your student base is not heavy Georgia. You got a good supply of Georgia, but there were more niggas.
I tell you what, if we do Georgia, 25 to 30%.
Right. But there were more niggas from certain high schools in DC,
New York,
and LA.
California people. Well, yeah. Not just LA, but California.
I'm saying like a specific high school.
Oh.
Had more from these cities, had more people in the AUC than my county. There was a point in time where there was me and another nigga from Cartersville at Morehouse, and he was like 5 years older than me. He was like a non-traditional student. One of my partners transferred to Clark Atlanta, was there. There were a couple people from back home at some point who went to Spelman while I was there from back home. But like when I tell you, I got to the AUC and I was around a bunch of black people, and it was a culture shock because I had been to New York as a kid. I didn't know New Yorkers. Bro, the DMV crew was huge. The LA crew was huge. The Texas crew was huge. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And you sitting there, you go, damn, bro, I'm in state around black people. I'd be more comfortable at UGA with the Watts.
Well, because you're gonna meet people from Watkinsville, you know.
Yeah, you meet Watkinsville. I had like 5 or 6 classmates go to UGA. Shit, I had more classmates at Emory than I had at Morehouse. I had more classmates at Tech than I did at Morehouse. I had more classmates at State than I did at Morehouse. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, look, I mean, same here. Obviously, I mean, the school I graduated from was pretty much white. So that explains that. But none of the black people outside of, you may not know Collie. He was your class. He went, but he's a year ahead of me.
Last name.
And then Higdon.
I have to see his face.
We put his face in the group a couple of times. It's kind of a joke, but shout out to Kali. But nonetheless, him. But I tell you what, you met Bobby. Bobby's a good friend. Bobby was at Boyne's wedding. You know Bobby. Guthrie? Yeah. Bobby went to Stevenson too. So Bobby actually went to the same elementary school as me. Funny enough, but so he went to not obviously Stevenson being the school I didn't graduate from, but the school I grew up in, basically.
Right.
Bobby's like the only Stevenson person I know that went to Morehouse. I don't know anyone else that went to Stevenson that went to Morehouse. Yeah. So, yes, I'm with you on the county. Even you can look. Well, there are a couple of DeKalb County niggas, but like DeKalb is a big, big county. But like nonetheless, affirmative action though. To me, that is where that stuff matters. But look, with the NFL now, for instance, I think that the Rooney Rule is a played out thing because it gets ignored to begin with. So it doesn't really matter if you have it. Case in point, we can look at it from any number of ways with coaching. You brought it up earlier with Sean Payton. The Panthers knew they were going to hire Frank Reich. That's why his daughter got hired like a month before. He was getting hired there. It was not coming down to this thing with Steve Wilkes, which is why Steve Wilkes was so mad, because he knew that the job wasn't his either. Even though he, in that situation, probably deserved to get another chance, to get a full year, a draft.
Steve Wilkes coached in 2022 better than Frank Reich did in that same season.
Correct. And had less talent. Even with as bad as the Colts played, Matt Ryan versus Baker Mayfield and PJ Walker. Come on now. Big differences between these guys. And should have absolutely done – Steve Wilkes should have had an opportunity to coach that team. And then obviously doesn't get a head coaching job even anywhere else afterwards, even though he
got fucked out of the Cardinals job 1 year. Yeah, I get it wasn't great. You drafted Josh Rosen. And you get the number one pick. You don't get the coach's number one pick?
Yeah, 1-15. It's pretty bad. That's a bad way to get started. Now, look, Hugh Jackson, guy that – and maybe they thought he was the next Hugh or something. I don't know. But okay, with the NFL and the Rooney Rule, one of the things I look at and why those decisions were made is because the owner is going to do what they want to do. And same with the GM. The GM is hired by the owner. They're not only going to do what the owner wants, but at the same time, even if they're not going to do exactly what the owner wants, they have to protect their job. And if it's not their guy, then it ain't their fucking guy. They might not be hiring the best football coach. They might be hiring the guy that they feel the most comfortable, that knows something that we don't know. Maybe there's coaches that are better at recruiting, oddly enough, in the NFL that are better at fucking recruiting players because if they have a relationship with these people and they can like.
Let me tell you a story.
Go ahead.
Two friends. One is involved in college football today. Mm-hmm. One was involved in college football. They did not get hired for jobs they applied for. They got hired by former coaches, guys who coached them. That's who put them on staff. So, you go to the coaching conferences, all that stuff. You shake hands, exchange information. You talk ball. Cool. They got hired as entry-level coaches by people they know. One of them is now at the same institution that he played at. The other, who is no longer in coaching, was offered a position at the institution that he played at. It is a nepotism game.
Yeah. And
until you have black coordinators who become black position coaches who become coordinators, black coordinators who become head coaches, black scouts that become
VP player personnel, GM.
It becomes
head of the scouting department.
Right. And until they get to hire their people who they have worked with, you're not going to see it. And until you have a black owner or black ownership group, like, yeah, the Commanders sale went through. Magic Johnson is an owner. He don't know nobody in football. He's not the principal owner. He's not the guy. He is a guy.
Hell, Warwick Dunn owns a piece of the Falcons. That don't mean the nigga gonna become the coach. You know what I mean?
And honestly, dog, I don't think a black man ever coaches the Falcons.
We had Emmett Thomas. He interim coach. Oh, and so did Raheem. They both interim, but no, we've never had a head coach, a hired head coach. No.
The Falcons paying fan base. I ain't talking about the fans who buy jerseys and tailgate, because that's us. But the Falcons paying fan base is this fan base right here.
I'll give a hard argument that during the Vic era it was half and half. It was very much so half and half.
I will argue with that, and that's why we sold out our season our tickets in the first hour when you had to buy your tickets online, or excuse me, over the phone on Ticketmaster.
That and then
hey, you cook. I'm about to go to the bathroom.
Okay. That and then I'll say this when it comes to the Falcons and during that period and why that was. Obviously, Vic, of course, being the major factor. But at the same time, when you break down why that was. Tickets were a lot cheaper too then. Even with the Michael Vick experience, tickets were cheaper. So with tickets being cheaper, it's more affordable. If it's more affordable, then pretty much everybody can get in on the action. Atlanta's still a black city at the end of the day. And yeah, there are people that travel from outside. And yes, there's plenty of white people in Atlanta. But like it was much more half and half in a situation like that. But kind of getting off topic with that. When it comes to these coaches and that Rooney Rule, I don't think that blacks are, given more opportunity because of this. And I think that that is why it makes sense to get rid of it. Ultimately, I think that it really comes down to kind of like what Lee just said. Once we start getting more guys that are getting promoted into the higher ups within it, that's when we're going to get to see it. Not because there's a rule that you have to interview them. And a lot of this actually, in a weird way, especially with the NFL today, stems from the bias that we even have when it comes to the coordinators. A lot of the coordinators that are getting hired are offensive coaches. There aren't very many black offensive coordinators. There's one that everybody can notoriously name, and he couldn't get the fucking job. He hadn't gotten a fucking job. And that could go for many reasons. I'm talking about how with the Rooney Rule, we can go from, obviously what you said is correct, of course, like we need more. It has to infiltrate itself in order for it to become a thing where it matters. But the Rooney Rule itself does not matter because the guys are going to hire who they want. And ultimately, who are the guys that are getting hired to be head coaches in the NFL anyway? They're offensive guys. How many fucking black offensive coordinators are there? Like I said, there's one that we can notoriously name that many people thought should have gotten a head coaching opportunity by now. But ultimately,
and dog, when you watch quarterbacks, we're gonna have a conversation about that because you see Matt Nagy on there more than you see him.
And here's the point though, and that could be for a reason though. That could be because maybe he really does just game plan because we know who the fuck's calling the plays. Andy is calling the plays. So then the question really becomes, well, what all does he do? Does he just prepare the game plan? What is he doing in that situation? And I think that the best part about it is, unfortunately, he's about to go to a kind of a shitty situation. Team just got sold. Sam Howell's your quarterback. Riverboat Ron, granted, could get fired after this year, and maybe you step up to be the head coach and we get to see it. But you're going to have much more control over the offense over there. So he does get somewhat of a tryout, but I'm just simply saying a lot of the coaches that are hired today anyways are offensive coaches, and there aren't very many offensive coordinators that are black to begin with.
And it
Name
goes.
them. Anthony Lynn was one.
Think about it.
Caldwell was one. How many black offensive guys do you know? Typically, black guys that get hired are defensive coordinators.
And they're labeled as motivators and not scheme guys. And it goes back to
Tomlin.
And if you listen to anybody who's played for Tomlin talk about him in the media, he's not just a motivator. He's just really good at the microphone because he's a nigga.
He's not an X's and O's guy.
He's not a what?
X's and O's type guy.
But he is. We can disagree with some of that, but defensively,
I'm just saying. I mean, because he's a defensive guy, right? He came from the Minnesota tree. He was with Brad Childress, Leslie Frazier.
Minnesota. He was also he's off that Shanahan tree too. He was down in Tampa.
Okay, yeah, Tampa. Yeah, okay, yeah, he was. Yeah. So he's with Dundee.
He's a Dundee guy, but he spent time with was it in
It was Minnesota before he went to the Steelers. He got hired out of Minnesota.
He got hired out of Minnesota, but he spent time with Kyle and McVay, all of them. Like those are his boys. He just got a job well before they did.
Right.
But here's the thing. You talk about the lack of black offensive coordinators, and that's where the head coaches are coming from.
A lot of it, yeah.
There is a lack of black quarterbacks. There's a lack of black backup quarterbacks because your OCs are usually your backup quarterbacks who wash out, right? They become like a quality control guy, then become a fucking quarterbacks coach, stuff like that. Because your high end quarterbacks, bro, they make too much money to go coach.
Well, they're going to be on TV.
Yeah. So because you don't have a lot of black guys in the positions, the quote unquote smart positions that get you into coaching as a player, the opportunities are limited. So I think it starts with us having more black quarterbacks. So like a Tyrod Taylor, he's fucked around and probably made too much money to get into coaching, but his career arc is that of who becomes a QB coach and then a OC, right? Pretty much a career backup, stepped in, played good stuff. He was a decent starter. He got the Bills to the playoffs before they drafted Josh Allen. And yeah. Or what's my guy's name? Jacoby Brissett. Or hell, Tampa Bay. He just got fired. Byron Leftwich.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Byron Leftwich was calling the plays when they were winning, and then, or excuse me, Tom Brady was calling the plays when they were winning, and then Byron Leftwich was calling the plays when they were losing. It's that, like, having guys like having a larger reservoir of guys like that who get there. But as we close out this conversation, is that affirmative action, Rooney Rule is a form of affirmative action. It doesn't work if the decision makers don't change, whether it's the people who get to make the decisions or the minds of those people, because you can't tell a college at the end of the day who to let in, because they have their point system. All that shit's private, and if they believe in you, whether it's right or wrong, you get in. You can't tell an owner who to hire, whether it's the right hire. If he believes in that person, he or she's going to hire him, and that's just the way it works.
And it's been said for years now, and it's pretty much the same thing I said about the Colin Kaepernick situation. Do I think that at the time when it happened that Colin Kaepernick was one of the 64 best quarterbacks in the NFL? Yeah, I do. But at the end of the day, the owner can make that decision. He owns the team. You can't tell him how to run his company. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
no, ain't nobody gonna tell you who to hire.
Yeah, and so
as long as your processes meet.
It's almost like they wanted a Rooney Rule for fucking players too at that point, and so
it gets touchy. And I'll say this: apparently, affirmative action has benefited white women more than it's benefited anyone else, because they're women, so they're technically minorities, and white women marry white men, so it's kind of helped out the white family more. That's what I've been told. So take it for what it is for those of you who just want to live and die by affirmative action. I think y'all are the same people who care about like companies giving apologies for racial actions, but not actually changing stuff. You're the type who say, hey, Colin Kaepernick needs to keep taking the knee, but nothing. But you're mad at Jay-Z for saying, hey, we're beyond knees. Let's talk about some action. Right. A couple of football things left that we can knock out. We have 10 minutes to knock it out. New threads. The NFL has learned from the NBA. Hey, dog, you can make more money by making new jerseys.
These new jerseys that have been in high demand anyways.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a topic to dive into. I just think it's something to say, hey, they're trying to make some money. In SEC Media Day, there's been some great clips out of SEC Media Day. And ESPN, the worldwide leader, has done a great job of getting Paul Feinbaum on to speak about those clips. I feel like Kirby stole the day. Yeah. I don't know. Like because Kirby talking about the complacency thing. And he goes, the first thing you have to do is acknowledge that complacency exists. Hey, dog, we're back-to-back national championships, and we've lost one game in 2 years. Some of y'all are juniors. Y'all been here through this whole process. Some of you guys are sophomores. You haven't lost a game in college football. You know that we have the best recruiting classes. We have some of the best players. But we can't think about a national championship if we don't think about tomorrow. And I really like the fact, bigger than college football, right? Who gives a fuck about college football? We're fans. We're better, so we like it. But not being complacent, knowing that you can't get better in a week. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you. I think your sound just went out on us.
Hello?
Hello?
Nothing.
There we go.
Okay, but like you can't get better in a week if you don't get better tomorrow. You can't win a national championship if you don't win week 1. If you don't win week 2, if you don't win week 3. But I got something for you. Brian Kelly's got a lot of hype. LSU's got a lot of hype. Colin Cowherd has Brian Kelly and LSU winning the SEC. He doesn't watch the SEC.
I think it's a bad – I see why he has it, and this is why. They're returning their starter at quarterback, Jaden Daniels, who
don't believe in him.
He's seasoned at least. He's certainly a veteran. He played plenty of ball at Arizona State for Herm. And those were Arizona State teams that were ranked. So he's played plenty of ball there. He's got a year under his belt with B. Kelly at LSU. He's got some of his guys in. They did win the West last year. Georgia does have a different quarterback this year. I could see why he would make that type of a bold prediction, I guess. I won't dismiss it because Alabama, we don't know anything about their quarterback. I know he got some tread in the Texas A&M game this year, and they barely won that game. And Texas A&M was not good. So I could see how that would come out of his mouth, but is it something that's going to happen? Probably not. Georgia is just too fucking loaded, and Nick Saban isn't the type of guy that loses back-to-back years to anyone. Can you recall the last time he lost to somebody back-to-back years?
No.
He didn't play Georgia last year, so he didn't get a chance to play them again. Nick Saban don't lose 2 straight games to anyone. I mean, I seriously can't recall. Maybe Ole Miss got them back-to-back, maybe. I don't remember if that was back-to-back, though. It feels like Chad Kelly – was it Chad Kelly twice?
I don't remember. I don't
think so. But I don't think it was back-to-back. Maybe – no. You want to know what it is? Ole Miss beat them twice in 3 years, but and I think maybe even Auburn got them twice in 3 years. But I'm thinking because it was 1 year it was Chad Kelly, and then the next it was Johnny Manziel. But basically –
you want to listen – no, it was Johnny then Chad. Do you want to listen to what Lane was saying about the state of college football?
Go ahead.
And we are. So as far as it is with players, that you're coaching a player in camp and then they go, you know what, I don't like the way you're coaching me. I've graduated, so I'm going to go.
Lane got hammered last night, by the way.
And teams know that. I mean, people pre-portal and, they know who's going in. They know who's graduated. So
they're Hoover, right? Hoover
that messes kids up. I said it's really challenging for a kid. He's working out with his team in the off season, but then other schools are calling him about going there and him being fully invested when, hey, the strength coach yells at me, or I don't like this where I am on the depth chart, and I can leave. That's not really a good setup.
Sure, but it's not only football that is dealing with this transfer portal. Nonetheless, this has been widely talked about from a lot of coaches, but Lane Kiffin calling it a disaster.
Let's go fake Molly. Shut up. We want to hear Paul.
He may be right, but critical.
Great place. He did get hammered.
Anyone remember who was negotiating with Auburn last year toward the end of last season while his team, once ranked in the top 10, imploded and lost 5 straight games, including the Egg Bowl, the biggest game of the year? That was Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin leveraged that dalliance with Auburn for about an $11 million deal. So, I mean, he may be right about the state of college football, but when it comes to hypocrisy, Lane Kiffin just retired the trophy.
Sure, but it's not only.
I love Paul Feinbaum, dog. But
he's on the point, though. You know, that's crazy. That game cost me $50K on Thanksgiving. I'll never forget.
Oh, the Mississippi State game?
Hell yeah, I was so hot.
Yeah, we got Falcon Saints Thanksgiving week.
That one's here though. Yeah, it's here.
Yeah. But yeah, college football, so much to talk about it, and we just like brush over very quickly here. I don't disagree with what Lane said, but shut up, Lane. Dog, you're a coach. You can negotiate whenever you want to. And you did it. And you saw SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey came out and said Congress needs to fix what's going on because the NIL and the transfer portal is changing college football in a way that is hard to predict and it's hard to build a team. Greg Sankey, Congress can't fix shit. So I don't even know why the fuck you want them to fix anything. They can't fix themselves. And Chip Kelly, I listened to Chip Kelly on Joel Klatt's podcast. Great conversation. I actually meant to send it to you. My bad. They got to talking about it, and he's like, hey, man, players deserve to get paid. Like, they bring in revenue. They should get paid. And I'm not saying I agree with it. It's above my head of how we're doing it. But these are the cards we've been played. These are cards that have been dealt. I got to make board. I'm trying to win the spades game. If I don't make board, I don't get to come back on the table. So I'm going to play these cards and go.
Should they cap it off by a percentage of revenue that the school makes? Should they make it based on that? I mean,
well, football and basketball fund the other sports. So,
but if you notice, college football in a weird way is kind of its own entity, and that's at a lot of schools. Like Notre Dame is in the ACC in basketball, but they're independent in football. The University of Texas has its own network. The college football playoff is not
NCAA.
It's not a part of the NCAA. So,
but the school still uses the revenue to fund the other sports.
Sure. But I'm just saying, should that be maybe what caps it? Because you can't. I'm not saying you want to put a salary cap on. There is a way to control this stuff if they wanted to. I think where the guys still get paid what they need to get paid. Like guys will still get paid, but like it is ridiculous when you look up in Shedeur Sanders, like he's got like a fucking Rolls Royce truck, and it's just like that is nuts, bro. That's fucking nuts. That is
money laundering. But here's what I think it is. I think there need to be windows for coaching movement, transfer portal, and recruiting. I think they need to be more set up like professional sports where you have a free agency period. That's your portal period. You have your draft period.
But free agency is always going on. That's why Ezekiel Elliott's going to sign the day before the first regular season game.
But there is a window where it doesn't end. Yeah, right. Like it starts at a certain point, in order for you to get where you want to get and get the money and the position and the reps that you need for most people, you got to get signed up.
Contract period.
Yeah, they need to have that, and also with these NIL deals, there need to be these contracts need to be written in a way where here's what you get annually. And here are the conditions. You don't get this money if you leave. And it's refundable. Hey, dog, if you transfer, you got to pay it back. And I think
or it's prorated.
Or there we go. And I think that forces the coaches, the institutions.
Because then you know when the cutoff is, too, for that kid that when he's going to leave. And this is like, well, worst case, if he burns us, let's say if Quinn Ewers in Ohio State, like Quinn Ewers, I think, got $1 million. If he burns us, doesn't fucking play it down and leaves, he has to leave at this point. And we know that out of that $1 million, he's really only getting this much. But within that period, we need to work him to death. We need to, this motherfucker needs to be, any off day he's got, he needs to be signing autograph. I mean, he needs to be doing a lot of shit.
Because also, you look at some of these contracts, these guys are unknown outside of college football recruiting. They're not moving products. It's just
unless they're a hometown kid in their own playing at their own college. And I say that like I'm not saying we knew Nick Chubb was going to be Nick Chubb, but Chubbtown, Cedartown, but now it's Chubb. I think it really is called Chubbtown now. But think about it, everybody and their mama.
Not officially.
Well, they were already going to watch him to give the eyeballs were going to be there, but I don't know. There's more shit to get.
I'm not even from Cedartown. I never moved around in Cedartown, but Cedartown was in my region. Cedartown, dudes from Cedartown, people from Cedartown would come up to Cartersville to party and stuff. So I'm familiar with Cedartown. I got people who got people out in Cedartown. Yeah. I support Nick Chubb because of Cedartown. I played one of the worst football games of my life at Cedartown High School. But I think that
Chubb there for your senior year, but that of course doesn't make any sense.
But
yeah, that wouldn't make sense.
But here's the thing. I think what Lane couldn't say there is that the collectives, the bagmen who are giving out these NIL contracts need to be aligned with the coaches, manage expectations and understand what's going on here, because this guy could be a 5-star. We could have offered him. If your NIL deal is what puts him over the top, but he's coming to Georgia to play running back, and he's 5th on the depth chart freshman year. He's 3rd on the depth chart sophomore year. He doesn't get to play until his junior year because we got dogs. I don't need you calling me saying, hey, you got to play this guy because I'm paying him. Fuck you. I'm coaching my team to win. I'm not coaching the dollars. Because that's one of the problems. That is a problem in pro sports that isn't talked about enough, is that in a lot of places, the money is played, not the best player. We paid this guy, we got to play him.
But do you get upset at that? At this point, Ben Simmons has become just a placeholder in the NBA.
I don't care about
play, but he's going to get his money. I'd be mad. I'm a billionaire. I'm paying that nigga $35 million a year, bro. No, his ass better get on the fucking court. Either the collective bargaining, we got to change this. Something happens one way or another.
Once he gets on the court and he's not producing,
if he's not good, but just not play at all.
Here's my thing as an owner. I got to pay the floor. So I know I'm spending X dollars every year. I have to pay that.
Yeah, 90% of the cap.
If once I start paying X dollars, now the people I'm paying the most money to, I want them to get the first opportunity. I do want that. But once that shit ain't working, my bill is my bill. I can't change my bill. I want to win. Get the best niggas on the court.
Understood. And we see it in the pros. It's easier
because the person who writes the check is the person with the influence. Whereas in college sports, the person writing the check has no alignment with the program. Somebody,
they're just a fan. They're a fan. They're a investor fan.
Yes, you could write a $5 million check for a guy to come to Alabama who Saban offered. he may not really even want him. He's just like, yeah, bro, I'm offering you. But like, you're not the type of right. You're not gonna play like you're not gonna be a 1, 2, 3 year guy. You're gonna be a 3, 4, 5 year guy. Now I'm gonna get you to the league, but you're 3, 4, 5, not 1, 2, 3.
That's what true story, and I think we've told it before. True story. Isaac, funny enough, second most followed NFL player on TikTok behind Gronk. His wife, they're like super popular online for whatever reason. But Isaac said that to Justice that he shook Nick Saban came to Elka down to their school one day, shook his hand, and then he told him, don't do that again. He shook his hand too hard. And then he told him that we're going to get you on the field by your senior year, and we will get you in the NFL. And now Isaac was a 4-star, best player on a state championship, undefeated team in Georgia, right? And he told this man to his face that you're not going to play your first 2 years. We are going to get you in as a reserve your third year, and then you'll start by your senior year, but we promise you you'll get to the NFL as long as you work hard and do what you're supposed to do and do what we tell you to do, that you'll get to the NFL. But he told him that he wasn't really going to see the field basically until he was a senior. And that's the reality of college sports. There are so many guys that are juniors, seniors that had to wait their turn. And just because you're a 4- and 5-star doesn't mean you come in. I mean, Arch Manning clearly was understanding of that with Sark. Quinn Ewers is a 5-star too. He's only in his second year there. And granted, the hope and thought would be on Texas's end that he's going to go to the league after this year and not stay another year, because then it's either going to be a true competition or Arch get out of there, and then that's going to be an issue with the boosters.
To our earlier conversation about that 1-2 pick, right? If Quinn goes off, he's 5-star pedigree. He jumps Michael Penix.
Okay, all right. You're saying him. I thought you were about to say something else.
No, it just makes the quarterback class that much deeper. I'm not saying he's gonna. He's not passing.
What if Spencer returns to form? South Carolina looked good last year.
I think Spencer has enough character issues that he'll still be a 3rd-round pick at best.
You saw he cut his hair, right?
No one likes Spencer.
He's the representative at SEC Media Day for South Carolina. And
Shane Beamer is going to build him up and show that he's his guy. That's what Shane's supposed to do.
I like Shane. Do you like Shane? I like Shane Beamer.
I like what he's doing there, yeah.
I like Shane Beamer. But
hey, we got to close out soon and get to culture, though. Yeah. I'm not rushing you. I'm just telling you. I'm just,
Yeah. Regardless, I think that it's a layered conversation for college, and I think that there can be, a structure that's put in place in order to avoid these type of things. But at the end of the day, for anyone that's a booster / fan, basically investor that is doing it, nobody there. It's like the coaches are asking you to do it. The school is asking you to do it. But at the same time, it's got to be one of those buyer bewares type things. I mean, you can't, because nobody knows. We don't know. It's a gamble. It's all a gamble in reality. We don't know. Nobody knows. The kid could play and suck for 4 years. Like, be super duper, like I don't know if, like, all right, let's just. I know a guy.
I played with a guy. You remember that magazine they used to have at our high schools? The Georgia Sports thing? He made the cover. He was a 5-star. He played running back in Georgia. Didn't work out for him. He had
who's behind?
Huh?
Who's he behind? Cromwell?
Yeah. Richard Samuel.
Oh, Crowell, not Cornwell. Crowell. Yeah. Isaiah Crowell.
Fuck it, I'll say his name. His name is Richard Samuel. He busted an 80-yarder against Arizona State because the nigga ran he was like 220 and he ran like 4.4. Super fast, but he couldn't juke. He could only outrun you or run you over. And that doesn't work in the SEC. as a running back. Like, bro, you have to make people miss you because you're not gonna run all these niggas over.
Sounds like he wanted to be Toby Gerhart. That's what Toby Gerhart did.
I practice against him every day, and don't get me wrong, he trucked me many times. But I was just like, yo, y'all tell me I can't hit him in the legs in practice. We got to stay off his legs. I can't hit him up high, but I am meeting him where he wants. I'm meeting him at the point of attack, right?
Right.
When he's playing against somebody who is physically comparable to him, it's not going to work long term. And niggas told me I was a hater. He goes to Georgia. It doesn't work out the way that people thought it would as a 5-star. I mean, he's a fucking 5-star. But, yeah.
Craig Lumpkin didn't work out either.
Nah, it didn't. Danny Ware did, though.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think the college coaches, they want ultimate control. And I think that is a podcast conversation that we can have later on, just the control of college coaches, because most of them stay in college because of the control that they have. They don't want to go to the NFL where a nigga can tell you, hey, dog, they can't cut me. They can cut you.
Right.
Watch you. Nigga, I'll beat your ass. And you'll get fired. But that's hour 2, man. College football season is going to be great. We're looking forward to it. Parlay Pete's.
Very excited. Very excited. Hey, and I tell you what, let me give you a tracker real quick. We are, if you don't include, because today is technically Friday now, if you don't include tomorrow, we are 4 Saturdays away from college football. Unbelievable.
Are you
4 away? Yeah, 4.
Oh, because
1, 2. Week 0. You know how there's that week 0. And like I said, if you don't include tomorrow, Saturday.
Yeah. Hey, dog.
We're 5 weeks away though from game week 1, real week 1.